Welcome to Catholic Shrine Basilica YouTube channel. The Basilica of Saint Mary Major, Rome, Italy. Introduction. The Basilica of Saint Mary Major, Italian, Basilica di Santa Maria Maggiore, Latin, Basilica Sancti Mariae Majoris, or Church of Santa Maria Maggiore, is a major papal basilica as well as one of the 7 pilgrim churches of Rome and the largest Catholic Marian church in Rome, Italy. The basilica enshrines the venerated image of Salus Populi Romani, depicting the Blessed Virgin Mary as the health and protectress of the Roman people, which was granted a canonical coronation by Pope Gregory XVI on August 15, 1838, accompanied by his papal bull Celestis Regina. Pursuant to the Lateran Treaty of 1929 between the Holy See and Italy, the basilica is within Italian territory and not the territory of the Vatican City-State. However, the Holy See fully owns the basilica, and Italy is legally obligated to recognize its full ownership thereof and to concede to it the immunity granted by international law to the headquarters of the diplomatic agents of foreign states. In other words, the complex of buildings has a status somewhat similar to a foreign embassy. History. The basilica is sometimes referred to as Our Lady of the Snows, a name given to it in the Roman Missal from 1568 to 1969 in connection with the liturgical feast of the anniversary of its dedication on 5th of August, a feast that was then denominated Dedicatio Sancti Mariae ad Nives, Dedication of Saint Mary of the Snows. This name for the basilica had become popular in the 14th century in connection with a legend that circa the year 352, during the pontificate of Liberius, a Roman patrician John and his wife, who were without heirs, made a vow to donate their possessions to the Virgin Mary. They prayed that she might make known to them how they were to dispose of their property in her honor. On 5th of August, at the height of the Roman summer, snow fell during the night on the summit of the Esquiline Hill. In obedience to a vision of the Virgin Mary which they had the same night, the couple built a basilica in honor of Mary on the very spot which was covered with snow. The legend is first reported only after AD 1000. It may be implied in what the Liber Pontificalis, of the early 13th century, says of Pope Liberius. He built the basilica of his own name, i.e. the Liberian Basilica, near the Macellum of Livia. Its prevalence in the 15th century is shown in the painting of the Miracle of the Snow by Marcellino de Panical. The feast was originally called Dedicatio Sancti Mariae, Dedication of Saint Mary's, and was celebrated only in Rome until inserted for the first time into the general Roman calendar, with ad Nives added to its name, in 1568. A congregation appointed by Pope Benedict XIV in 1741 proposed that the reading of the legend be struck from the office and that the feast be given its original name. No action was taken on the proposal until 1969, when the reading of the legend was removed and the feast was called in Dedicatione Basilicae S. Mariae, Dedication of the Basilica of Saint Mary. The legend is still commemorated by dropping white rose petals from the dome during the celebration of the Mass and second Vespers of the feast. The earliest building on the site was the Liberian Basilica or Santa Maria Liberiana, after Pope Liberius, 352 to 366. This name may have originated from the same legend, which recounts that, like John and his wife, Pope Liberius was told in a dream of the forthcoming summer snowfall, went in procession to where it did occur and there marked out the area on which the church was to be built. Liberiana is still included in some versions of the basilica's formal name, and Liberian Basilica may be used as a contemporary as well as historical name. On the other hand, the name Liberian Basilica may be independent of the legend, since, according to Pius Parche, Pope Liberius transformed a palace of the Cicinini family into a church, which was for that reason called the Cicinini Basilica. This building was then replaced under Pope Sixtus III, 432 to 440, by the present structure dedicated to Mary. However, Some sources say that the adaptation as a church of a pre-existing building on the site of the present basilica was done in the 420s under Pope Celestine I, the immediate predecessor of Sixtus III. Long before the earliest traces of the story of the miraculous snow, the church now known as St. Mary Major was called St. Mary of the Crib, Sancta Maria ad Praesepe, a name it was given because of its relic of the crib or manger of the Nativity of Jesus Christ. 4 boards of sycamore would believed to have been brought to the church, together with a 5th, in the time of Pope Theodore I, 640 to 649. This name appears in the Tridentine editions of the Roman Missal as the place for the Pope's Mass, the Station Mass, on Christmas night, while the name Mary Major appears for the Church of the Station Mass on Christmas Day. Status as a papal major basilica. No Catholic church can be honored with the title of basilica unless by apostolic grant or from immemorial custom. St. Mary Major is one of the only 4 that hold the title of major basilica. The other 3 are the basilicas of St. John in the Lateran, St. Peter, and St. Paul outside the walls. The title of major basilica was once used more widely, being attached, for instance, to the Basilica of St. Mary of the Angels in Assisi. Along with all of the other major basilicas, St. Mary Major is also styled a papal basilica. Before 2006, the 4 papal major basilicas, together with the Basilica of St. Lawrence outside the walls, were referred to as the Patriarchal Basilicas of Rome, and were associated with the 5 ancient patriarchates, see Pentarchy. St. Mary Major was associated with the Patriarchate of Antioch. The 5 papal basilicas, along with the Basilica of the Holy Cross in Jerusalem and San Sebastiano fuori la Mura, were the traditional 7 pilgrim churches of Rome, which were visited by pilgrims during their pilgrimage to Rome following a 20-kilometer (12 miles) itinerary established by Saint Philip Neri on February 25, 1552. History of the present church. It is now agreed that the present church was built under Pope Celestine I, 422 to 432, not under Pope Sixtus III, 432 to 440, who consecrated the basilica on the 5th of August 434 to the Virgin Mary. The dedicatory inscription on the triumphal arch, Sixtus Episcopus Plebi Dei, Sixtus the Bishop to the People of God, is an indication of that pope's role in the construction, as well as this church on the summit of the Esquiline Hill. Pope Sixtus III is said to have commissioned extensive building projects throughout the city, which were continued by his successor Pope Leo I, the Great. The church retains the core of its original structure, despite several additional construction projects and damage by the earthquake of 1348. Church building in Rome in this period, as exemplified in Santa Maria Maggiore, was inspired by the idea of Rome being not just the center of the world of the Roman Empire, as it was seen in the classical period, but the center of the Christian world. Santa Maria Maggiore, one of the first churches built in honor of the Virgin Mary, was erected in the immediate aftermath of the Council of Ephesus of 431, which proclaimed Mary Mother of God. Pope Sixtus III built it to commemorate this decision. Certainly, the atmosphere that generated the council gave rise also the mosaics that adorn the interior of the dedication. Whatever the precise connection was between council and church, it is clear that the planners of the decoration belonged to a period of concentrated debates on nature and status of the Virgin and incarnate Christ. The magnificent mosaics of the nave and triumphal arch, seen as milestones in the depiction of the Virgin, depict scenes of her life and that of Christ, but also scenes from the Old Testament, Moses striking the Red Sea, and Egyptians drowning in the Red Sea. Richard Krautheimer attributes the magnificence of the work also to the abundant revenue accruing to the papacy at the time from land holdings acquired by the Catholic Church during the 4th and 5th centuries on the Italian peninsula. Some of these holdings were locally controlled. The majority as early as the end of the 5th century were administered directly from Rome with great efficiency. A central accounting system was involved in the papal chancery, and a budget was apparently prepared, one part of the income going to the papal administration, another to the needs of the clergy, a third to the maintenance of church buildings, a fourth to charity. These funds enabled the papacy to carry out through the 5th century an ambitious building program, including Santa Maria Maggiore. Mary Rubin believes that the building of the basilica was influenced also by seeing Mary as one who could represent the imperial ideals of classical Rome, bringing together the old Rome and the new Christian Rome. In Rome, the city of martyrs, if no longer of emperors, Mary was a figure that could credibly carry imperial memories and representations. Gregory the Great may have been inspired by Byzantine devotions to the Theotokos, Mother of God, when after becoming pope during a plague in 590 that had taken the life of his predecessor, he ordered for 7 processions to march through the city of Rome chanting psalms and Kyrie eleison, in order to appease the wrath of God. The processions began in different parts of the city, but rather than finally converging on St. Peter's, who was always the traditional protector of Rome, he instead ordered the processions to converge on Mary Major instead. When the popes returned to Rome after the period of the Avignon papacy, the buildings of the basilica became a temporary palace of the popes due to the deteriorated state of the Lateran Palace. The papal residence was later moved to the Palace of the Vatican in what is now Vatican City. The basilica was restored, redecorated and extended by various popes, including Eugene III, 1145–1153, Nicholas IV, 1288–92, Clement X, 1670–76, and Benedict XIV, 1740–58, who in the 1740s commissioned Ferdinando Fuga to build the present facade and to modify the interior. The interior of the Santa Maria Maggiore underwent a broad renovation encompassing all of its altars between the years 1575 and 1630. On December 15, 2015, a Palestinian and a Tunisian national were arrested after they tried to disarm soldiers stationed outside the basilica while yelling Allah, God, is great. When police intervened, the 2 men aged 40 and 30 called other foreigners in the area to their aid, and assaulted and threatened the arresting officers. Architecture. Architectural styles: Romanesque architecture, Baroque architecture, Ancient Roman architecture, Medieval architecture. The original architecture of Santa Maria Maggiore was classical and traditionally Roman, perhaps to convey the idea that Santa Maria Maggiore represented Old Imperial Rome as well as its Christian future. As one scholar puts it, Santa Maria Maggiore so closely resembles a 2nd century imperial basilica that it has sometimes been thought to have been adapted from a basilica for use as a Christian church. Its plan was based on Hellenistic principles stated by Vitruvius at the time of Augustus. Even though Santa Maria Maggiore is immense in its area, it was built to plan. The design of the basilica was a typical one during this time in Rome: a tall and wide nave, an aisle on either side, and a semicircular apse at the end of the nave. The key aspect that made Santa Maria Maggiore such a significant cornerstone in church building during the early 5th century were the beautiful mosaics found on the triumphal arch and nave. The Athenian marble columns supporting the nave are even older, and either come from the first basilica, or from another antique Roman building. 36 are marble and 4 granite, pared down, or shortened to make them identical by Ferdinando Fuga, who provided them with identical gilt bronze capitals. The 14th century campanile, or bell tower, is the highest in Rome, at 246 feet, about 75 meters. The basilica's 16th century coffered ceiling, to a design by Giuliano da Sangallo, is said to be gilded with gold, initially brought by Christopher Columbus, presented by Ferdinand and Isabella to the Spanish Pope, Alexander VI. The apse mosaic, the Coronation of the Virgin, is from 1295, signed by the Franciscan friar, Jacopo Torridi. The basilica also contains frescoes by Giovanni Baglione, in the Cappella Borghese. The 12th century facade has been masked by a reconstruction, with a screening loggia, that was added by Pope Benedict XIV in 1743, to designs by Ferdinando Fuga that did not damage the mosaics of the facade. The wing of the canonica, sacristy, to its left and a matching wing to the right, designed by Flaminio Ponzio, give the basilica's front the aspect of a palace facing the Piazza Santa Maria Maggiore. To the right of the basilica's facade is a memorial constituting a column in the form of an appended cannon barrel topped with a cross. It was erected by Pope Clement VIII to celebrate the end of the French Wars of Religion. In the piazza in front of the facade rises a column with a Corinthian capital, topped with a statue of the Virgin and the Child Jesus. This Marian column was erected in 1614 to the designs of Carlo Maderno during the papacy of Paul V. Maderno's fountain at the base combines the armorial eagles and dragons of Paul V, Borghese. The column itself was the sole intact remainder from the Basilica of Maxentius and Constantine in the Roman Forum. The statue atop the column was made by Domenico Ferri. In a papal bull from the year of its installation, the Pope decreed 3 years of indulgences to those who uttered a prayer to the Virgin while saluting the column. Feast Day, 5th August. On November 12, 1964, Blessed Pope Paul VI made a pilgrimage to the Basilica and solemnly proclaimed Our Lady Mother of the Church. On 5th of August, the anniversary of the miraculous snowfall, the Feast of Our Lady of Snows is celebrated at the Basilica of her name. White petals are scattered throughout the Basilica. Mass time. Weekdays, 7 a.m., 8 a.m., 9 a.m., 10 a.m., 11 a.m., 12 o'clock, noon, 6 p.m. Sundays, 7 a.m., 8 a.m., 9 a.m., 10 a.m., 12 o'clock, noon, 6 p.m. Church visiting time. Every days, 7 a.m. to 6:45 p.m. Contact info. Basilica of St. Mary Major, Piazza di Santa Maria Maggiore, 00100, Rome RM, Italy. How to reach the Basilica. Giovan Battista Pastine International Airport in Italy is the nearby airport to the Basilica. Farini Transit Stop in Rome, Italy is the nearby transit station to the Basilica. If you wish to know more about Catholic shrine basilicas, Marian shrines and Marian apparitions, subscribe to our Catholic Shrine Basilica YouTube channel. Like and share with your loved ones. For more churches website www.catholicshrinebasilica.com.